So, for the benefit of our viewers, what are the problems in sourcing of fuels for the power sector? Given the fact that the power sector regulator, or in fact the Ministry of Power itself, cannot control fuel prices, which will have to be taken as a given because some of them are international prices, some of them vary on conditions that are beyond anyone's control actually. So how can we regulate these prices, or manage these price volatilities so that the price of electricity can work out to be?
Tell me, in which business all the inputs are controlled or regulated? If you are making cars, do you have control over steel prices? You deal with that as it comes along. You try to develop these sources. Our NTPC, for instance, has taken some coal mines. So they'll have their own mines. Our Indian private sector has gone abroad to places like Indonesia. They have taken mining interests there. So this is a constant, ongoing process.
Right. Given the political hot potato that something like energy is, power coming into your home, and given the fact that you'll be supplying more power to Indian homes in a few years to come, what sort of civic responsibilities, or what sort of positions should Indian consumers take and understand on power coming in with respect to development of power market? That they should not expect, say, cheaper power prices all throughout, or they should understand that peaking loads and their power and the market price that should be charged for a peaking load should be different. Is that something that we can work on?
Oh yes, there's a huge amount of work to be done. Somehow people feel that if a power line is going, like water or air, it should be a commodity which is free, because you don't see the actual generation taking place or the actual coal mining that is taking place. You just feel that this wire is going, and when you tap it, the electricity is there in your homes. You don't know, you don't realize what all goes into it. I think if we sensitize our people, they will realize, firstly, let's say how difficult it is to do a hydropower project, how many people get displaced, what kind of damage sometimes of changes we make to the environment, or thermal projects, what kind of CO2 emissions, etc. that happen. So every unit that gets generated is doing something to the environment. We have to be very, very conscious about its use, and therefore energy efficiency has to be inculcated right from childhood.
Okay. So finally, given the fact that we will be going into nuclear power in a big way, and so it is proposed, how will we attempt to schedule nuclear power in such a way that we incentivize nuclear power generation, so that they know that they will be getting their returns, because nuclear power again will be expensive to begin with?
Well, something that is expensive, either somebody has to pick up that tab, because ultimately in your energy basket, if the total generation is less, automatically the price that you are willing to pay for electricity is high. I mean, just imagine when there is load shedding, you do resort to your private generator. Many people do. Just imagine the kind of price that you are paying for that power. It comes to 10 rupees, 15 rupees.
Absolutely.
So you are in need, you are willing to pay that kind of a price. So as a country, you have to pool in everything, so there would be cheaper hydropower resources, there would be more expensive perhaps nuclear resources, there would be thermal resources. What is the pooled price? That is the question.
Exactly. In your presentation that you made earlier this day, sir, you referred to the fact that tariffs have become less volatile, which makes it better off for industry, for consumers, for retail domestic consumers, no matter who you look at it, and as well as generators, everyone in the system. So if we have to change the system, which we are in any case changing gradually, it's a gradual process, how does corporate governance, which is also talked about in the private sector given the recent scandals that have come to light, what is the role of corporate governance, and is it different in the public sector from the private sector, and how can it be enforced in the public sector?
I mean, essentially it is the same. Corporate governance, in my opinion, is to take into account the interests of all stakeholders and be transparent about things. Why should it be different from for public sector, and why should it be different for the private sector? In fact, the public sector has more of a responsibility in the sense that this sort of a transparency is already built into that system, because the public sector undertakings are subject to parliamentary scrutiny. Their accounts are supposed to be open. They are inspected by the CAG. The transactions are open to investigation by the Chief Vigilance Commissioner. So you are subject to a plethora of, in fact, agencies. You are answerable to them. The private sector is not answerable to such a plethora of agencies. But yet, you talk about corporate governance in the private sector also, and it is considered important. In fact, it is a nebulous concept, but companies try to certainly project that their corporate governance is good, and they would like to advertise it that way to the public.
So finally, all across the world, we've seen that what laxity in regulation can do to, say, financial market, which starts off a huge crisis all over the world. So do you see that the return of the big state instead of the retreat of the state in nations, not only in Asia or in the Western Hemisphere, but all across the world, whether it is the emerging economies of the Eastern Europe countries or Russia itself? Do you see a big state actually taking over and having more interest?
No, regulation does not mean that the state is taking over. Regulation is required when the state is retreating, and when the private sector is taking over.
So an independent regulator here will have an immense importance. But there was also an independent regulator, say in the case of the US, where these exotic derivatives and this whole mechanism got out of hand. So, for example, you alluding to this, calling it irrational exuberance in a different context, of course. But how do we control irrational exuberance while at the same time maintaining this balance that yes, if the economy has to grow, there has to be some amount of exuberance and optimism?
Well, I mean, I am not an expert in these matters, but I am told that in the US, the so-called light regulation really got out of hand, and there was a plethora of regulators, overlapping regulators, and people slipped through
The cracks.
the cracks. This is what I'm told, but I'm not very sure.
Right. With that, Mr. Kavle, would you have any message for the independent power producers of India and for lay audiences who would like to understand more of power because they invest in power stocks but don't understand too much of power?
I would say that power is going to be something that is going to be very, very important, because just imagine, we are at 600 odd units per capita. Our economy is growing at, hopefully it will grow at 9%. And consider US or the Western world, which is 14,000, 15,000 units per capita per year. So if we need to be even half as prosperous, our power consumption has to really multiply many fold. So the lesson is obvious, that there is growth, there has to be growth in this sector, because this is the basic driver of the economy. For higher prosperity, you need more power. You can't wish that away.